Hey guys, let's talk about all the books I've read recently. Deadstream is about a young teenage girl who witnesses the murder of her favorite live streamer from a paranormal entity, and soon she starts investigating and realizing that this entity can kill anyone through the computer screen, okay? This book is described as Rare Window meets The Ring, which I think is an interesting comparison. Our young teenage protagonist has experienced a great loss and trauma prior to the story, so it has left her very agoraphobic. She's filled with anxiety and she's kind of like terrified of everything. She has severe PTSD, so her only connection to the outside world is online, and she becomes obsessed with live streamers and she begins creating her own content. I really liked that aspect of her character, and I think the paranormal aspect of it is also unique. I loved how they modernized this ghost story to bring it to the online world, because that's where kids are nowadays. They're constantly on YouTube, Twitch, they're gaming, they're streaming. That's where it is. So to bring the ghosts to the place where kids are, perfect setup. Love that. I love the way the story plays out, because you're reading chat logs, you're seeing the transcript of our character as they're communicating with their chat, and then the horror kicks in very slowly. I think that it feels very authentic. The author really captured this world perfectly, where I was reading the chats and it feels like real things that I would see on an online live stream, because I watch a lot of people playing games like Let's Play on YouTube and stuff, and it felt so accurate and authentic. Like, it felt real. Like, this author actually does play games and is in this world. It didn't feel like an old person writing dialogue for young people. You know how sometimes it can feel fake and forced? This one felt legit, and I liked how the story unfolded, where she becomes even more obsessed with uncovering the mystery of what's going on. I think it gets a little weird towards the end, like almost like metaphysical. Like, I don't know what was happening towards the end. It kind of confused me a bit, but I loved the journey, the entire journey leading up to that. Once things are revealed, it was a little not as fun for me, but we do get to watch our protagonist go on this incredible journey of growth and discovery. So you know what? This book, I think it's YA, and it's a really good YA that a lot of you need to have on your radar. I've been really impressed with YA horror lately, and this one is one of my favorites. Then I checked out When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and this book was nothing like I expected, okay? The story, you go into it thinking it's going to be a straightforward werewolf story, but it takes turns I was not expecting, and it gets so crazy, like ginormous in scale and chaotic, and I loved everything about it because it's also infused with heart and so much emotion. We meet our main character, who is a struggling actress in LA, but she's working in a diner, and she has a lot of anxiety issues, and she experiences something on the job that sends her home early. And when she gets home, she discovers a little boy crying in her bushes. So she takes him inside and she's like trying to figure out what's going on, and then this guy shows up and he turns into a werewolf, okay? And he starts killing everyone in her apartment complex, and she goes on the run with the little boy. But the story takes an interesting turn. There's some interesting, unexpected revelations after that point, and the story is just so fun at times and creative at where Nat Cassidy brings things and how certain things are brought to life in this story. I loved how creative it was and how it kind of threw me for a loop. I was not expecting the reveal, and I'm really glad that it wasn't a straightforward werewolf story, because this story was just incredible. The relationship between the protagonist and the little boy is so freaking sweet, and you're like, can you just be his new mommy? And like, she kind of grows up a lot in this process with him, and they're kind of getting through their fears together, and it's just really sweet. And there's moments in the story where I wanted to cry because of some revelations, some things that happened, and you just really connect with these two characters and what they're going through. And I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars. It's the perfect read, I think, to kick off spooky season, because it's not like too spooky, but it has some really intense moments, some dark moments of gore, and violence that I wasn't really expecting either. But at its core, it's just a really interesting character study of these two characters that I fell in love with. I miss them. It's just so sweet. I'm thinking back about moments and I'm like, it's so fun, but also terrifying. It reminded me of like a Twilight Zone episode. Nat Cassidy, thank you. Thank you. Then I read Victorian Psycho. And this book lived up to its name because that bitch was a psycho, okay? This book is about a young governess she shows up to the new house, the Enzer house, and she meets the family that she's going to be working with and the two children she's going to be taking care of. And you quickly realize she's a psycho. She's a psychopath, okay? She has no feelings. She has dark intentions for this family, and she has a dark past, okay? And you learn about some stuff she's done, and it's messed up. She kills everyone, okay? Everyone dies. It doesn't matter how old they are, okay? The younger the better, preferably for her. It's just like, she doesn't discriminate on who she kills. And she kills in very creative ways. She's brutal. She's emotionless. She's funny. Like, horrific stuff happens in this book. It's so disturbing, but it's funny. Like, it's the weirdest feeling because she's doing these horrible things and she's also, it's like a comedy, a slapstick comedy at the same time. It's just, I loved the blend of comedy and horror here. And the protagonist is such an interesting, fascinating character to follow because you're slowly learning about her past, her relationship with her mother, and kind of what led her up to this point. And when they reveal something later on in the story, you're like, oh, okay, I get that. I get it. And you're like kind of like rooting for her in the end. It's weird, okay? I love it. I love this character, and I'm so excited for the movie because I hope they're gonna go crazy with it. This book just didn't shy away from doing messed up things to children, especially, and it was like an interesting balance of horror and comedy, and I loved the main character. I can't really say too much because I don't want to ruin it, but she is indeed a psycho. Read Victorian Psycho if you love weird girl horror, because this is the epitome of that. Then I ended off the month with The Summer Hikaru Died, Volume 1. This is a manga. It was recommended to me by a colleague. Two colleagues, actually. They said it was very similar to Junji Ito. Like, if you like Junji Ito, you'll probably like this. I think the story is really interesting. It's about this young teenage boy whose friend goes missing, and then he comes back, but he's not the same. And it's kind of him dealing with that and him looking at his friend differently and wondering if his friend can be trusted, if he's in danger now. And I feel like it's an interesting concept, but the first volume was all basically just the setup. So I didn't really get what I was hoping for this story, and I'm not sure I want to continue because nothing was really making me want to continue. If you've read this series, let me know if I should keep going because I'm not a series person. I wish it was all in one book that I could just read. So I don't know. Like, it's interesting, but I don't like that we missed the parts of him gone missing. Like, I wanted to see him missing and the search for him, and then they discover him, but when the book starts, he's already back. So it's like there's no mystery there except he's obviously a different person and there's something going on with him. I don't know. Like, I liked it, but I didn't. So let me know what you think, if you do think I should continue, if I will like it. And there you have it. That's all of the horror books I've read recently. A really good month. Let me know what books you've read recently, what you're liking, what you didn't like. If you read any of the books I read, let me know your thoughts below. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.